From the late 90s to mid-2000s, rhythm games experienced their golden age. It was during this era we not only got to witness the birth of the genre with unique titles like Parappa and Beatmania, but also watch its ascent to record-breaking popularity with series like Guitar Hero. I'm not exaggerating when I say you couldn't escape these games even if you tried.
Haha, I love this song!
And while I do believe that rhythm games of today are just as much, if not more innovative than rhythm games of the past, very few of them carry that experimental spirit that defines what I'm again coining mascot rhythm games, aka rhythm games with unconventional gameplay and silly characters to go along with them. So today I've gathered another bunch of these older mascot rhythm games that I think are cool, and hopefully I inspire some of you to check them out as well.
Space Channel 5.
We're starting with the game that I promised to return to in my Parappa video, and what I consider the best mascot rhythm series of them all, Space Channel 5. This game takes place in 2499 AD. Humanity has figured out space travel, and news channels are competing against one another for ratings lest they die. We play as Ulala, a news reporter for Space Channel 5 and what may be their final broadcast. Morolians have invaded, and they've started abducting humans, so it's up to you, the player, to save the day with music. It's really good music though. As far as the controls go, it's a pretty simple rhythm game. You only use the D-pad and 2 of the buttons. Your entire goal is to raise your ratings by mimicking the aliens. If they say, then you say,
Right up, right down, shoot, shoot, shoot.
Some of these sequences can get really long too, so I hope you have a good memory. This game is harder than it looks, but that's what makes it so satisfying to play. There are no visual cues to tell you when you should press the buttons at all, nor does it grade your timing with stuff like great or near miss either. You either time your presses perfectly or you miss them. But once you do get into that groove where you're beating all these levels flawlessly, it just feels great. This game is just challenging enough in my opinion, most of the time at least. The timing on some of these parts is questionable. Listen to this and tell me if you think I'm too far off. Keep in mind, the boing sound is me pressing a button and missing the beat.
Here we go. Shoot.
Yeah, I'm calling BS, but on an unrelated note, I love how all the characters in this game are in a perpetual state of dancing. Even when these guys are hostages, they just feel compelled to bust a groove. The cool thing about these guys is you can rescue them from captivity, and if you do, you'll unlock their profile and model to look at in the game's menu screen. Everyone has a bio actually, even the aliens and Space Michael. For those of you who don't know, that's actually supposed to be Michael Jackson. He doesn't have a huge role in this game. He just makes a cameo where you rescue him from being abducted, but I mean, it's Michael Jackson, it's cool that he's here. And believe it or not, Michael was actually the one who wanted to appear in this game. Here's what the game's creator and producer, Tetsuya Mizuguchi, had to say about him appearing in it.
We were in the middle of production of Space Channel 5 in 1998 or 1999. I got a call from the US from my partner, the executive producer of Space Channel 5. He said, "Oh, Michael wants to act in Space Channel 5. I said, "Who's Michael?" He said, "The Michael Jackson, the real Michael Jackson." My partner had shown him the 60 to 70% complete version when it was almost at the end of the game. We had 1 month to finalize, but Michael wanted to do something, so we suggested that if he was okay with it, we could program the people in the game to do the Michael Jackson dance when taken over by aliens. He said, "Yeah."
Michael Jackson has a pretty storied history with Sega, so it's no real surprise he got to see an unfinished build of this game. And it's also a music-themed game, so it makes sense. In its earliest known build, Space Channel 5 was a spy shooter with rhythm elements, and the player would have controlled a man named Noise Takayama. But that all changed about a month later when they decided to make the main character a female and embrace the music side more. According to Mizuguchi himself, this game was inspired by musicals titles like Stomp, and I can definitely see the influence with everyone suddenly breaking out into impromptu dance. But where all of the music was created by banging trash can lids together in Stomp, Space Channel 5 gets funky. Or I guess it would be more accurate to say this game gets pretty Shibuya-kei, a subgenre of J-pop that distinguished itself by blending pop with other genres like funk or jazz or bossa nova, stuff like that. It also borrowed from the 60s aesthetically, which is what this game does to a T. I really like the retrofuturistic look. Everyone's dressed in this space-age clothing, and Ulala has a different outfit for each level, which is a nice touch. Some of these pre-rendered backgrounds get pretty surreal too, which helps sell that trippy vibe. I just wish the game had more of these. The game ultimately ends with Ulala, some Marolians, and a bunch of the people you saved along the way sending the CEO of Channel 5 flying away, as it turns out this whole event was orchestrated by him to boost their ratings. The brainwashing and kidnapping isn't really cool, but you can't argue with results. Space Channel 5. Tough, yet satisfying.
Space Channel 5!
You are the coolest!
If you thought the first game was cool, then wait until you see its sequel, Space Channel 5 Part 2. Just like before, we play as Ulala, or as Michael Jackson would say it,
Ulala?
but instead of fighting against aliens, you're saving the day from an evil organization called the Rhythm Rogues. All these guys really want is to make everyone in the galaxy dance, and I gotta say, I'm on their side so far. So this game plays mostly like the first one did. The only major gameplay differences are your ratings no longer determine if you pass a level, your hearts do, and some notes can be held now, but it's still a gigantic game of Simon Says. I do find this game easier than the first one as well. I think that's mostly because the timing was better in this one. Again, I have no concrete proof of this, but there was never a moment where I felt like I definitely timed an input correctly, but still missed it like I did in the first game. Part 2 feels a lot more fair, and it's still challenging enough. I've actually replayed this game so many times, and I'm at the point where if I can't beat the first level flawlessly, I just restart the entire game. I think this is the Space Channel game that most people are familiar with as well. The first Space Channel only dropped on the Dreamcast and the PlayStation 2, but this game came out on both of those and had a later release in the Xbox Live Arcade and PlayStation Network. I'm playing the PC release for this video. This version of Ulala is also the one that shows up in nearly all the Sega games she has a cameo in, except for Sega Superstars Tennis. Please make a new Project X Zone. The levels are still fun, and the soundtrack is still funky. I don't think these songs are better than the first games either, but they do the job. Something both of these games do that I really love is remix certain parts of the song depending on whether or not you rescued certain characters who were holding instruments.
You got it, baby! You're really serving it up!
I always love it when games do stuff like this. Space Michael is also back, and he has a larger role in this game actually. He went from having a cameo in the first game to basically being Ulala's partner for the rest of this one after you rescue him. Again, this game is longer than the first one too, but if you're good enough, you can clear it in about an hour and a half. There is a little bonus content in this game to prolong it though. After you beat the game once, you unlock the obligatory hard difficulty where timing is stricter and certain characters have been swapped out with new ones for you to rescue. The first game had a mode like this too, but this game also introduces an Ulala mode where you have to clear 200 turns without failing once. Good luck. It's doable, but it's a real test of your endurance. I failed on the 75th turn and I felt too defeated to go on. If you want a real challenge, then both of these modes are going to be perfect for you. Also, if you get a high score in Ulala mode or fulfill any other requirements, you can unlock costumes in this game. That means you can play as anyone in this game, from one of the Rhythm Rogue robots to Space Michael himself. There aren't any gameplay differences, but it's decent incentive to replay the game.
So this game originally came out in 2002, and this series hasn't really been up to much ever since then. The first game got a Game Boy Advance port in 2003, and in 2020 there was a third game made for VR, but I'll save those for a future video on rhythm games. As far as I see it, Space Channel 5 is another one of those series that exists mostly on its legacy as a Dreamcast staple, but that doesn't mean you guys shouldn't give it a try. These games are oozing with personality, and they're definitely worth checking out if you haven't played them before.
Space Channel 5 Part 2. Not as tough, but still satisfying.
Okay, cut.
Hey, party people!
I would never ever run away. I'll be here to fight another day.
A long time ago, a friend of mine got really into fighting games, and he used to force me at gunpoint to play them with him. So every night he would whoop my ass in Third Strike, or Melee, or King of Fighters, and I remember him saying something that I think was supposed to unlock something in my brain and make me a better player. But he basically said, think of fighting games as rhythm games. It was something about getting into the flow and repetition of it, I guess.
And that conversation always stuck with me because I always wondered what a rhythm fighting game would look like. That is until just a few years ago when I discovered Slap Happy Rhythm Busters. But Bust a Groove is really cool too. It's a rhythm game with fighting game elements. And listen,
Why isn't competitive Bust a Groove a thing? In this game you select a dancer and face off against another for the camera's attention. If it's focused on you by the time the song ends, then that means you win. That's easier said than done though. Unlike Space Channel 5, the gameplay here can actually get a bit complex. Your goal is to time your button presses to every fourth beat of a song. Also, you only press the circle and X face buttons to dance, but some of these lines will require directional input before that fourth beat. You don't have to time those, but it will help you out if you can press them in rhythm. You're also given 2 lines to work with. Depending on which you choose to do, you'll be given 2 different lines after, meaning these combos can branch out pretty wildly. If you can finish a combo successfully as well, then you'll be given a lot more of the camera's attention. The top lines are usually easier, but I'm pretty sure they give you less scores, so you get to choose how risky you want to be. Here's a Cosmo pro tip. Be risky. It's worth it if you can pull off a difficult combo. Your character actually does different dance moves depending on which line you choose to do as well, so make sure you mix and match so you can get to see as many different combos as you can. Also, if you win a match with a full enthusiasm gauge, that's what this bar is, then you get Fever Time, where your character just dances some more. You also have the ability to attack your opponents, and this is a fun wild card they added to the game. On every fourth beat you can press triangle to jam your opponent, and if you catch them off guard, you can stop them when they're in the middle of a combo. It can be a real game changer. You are given a 1-turn window where you can press square to dodge an attack, but I mean, if you're dead set on finishing your combo, then you have to quickly snap your mind out of it and realize you're being attacked, then press square, and it's frantic, it's fun. This is also what makes this game such a blast to play in multiplayer. Again, why isn't competitive Bust a Groove a thing? The single player mode is fine as well, but it's not as fun as playing with someone else obviously. This game has your typical arcade kind of story, where the story doesn't really matter, but that's okay because it's not what you're playing this game for. You just get some bits and pieces after you finish a run with your selected character. This game's soundtrack is really good too. It's definitely my favorite of the games in this video. There's a few recognizable names who worked on it, like a young Crystal K and Donna Burke. And you know it's a game that was made in the 90s because it has that rap vocal sample. You know the one.
Causing much mayhem, dropping drama.
Take the house down!
Fake MC, then I hang 'em higher. The mic is mine, time to pay the piper. Crime of rhyme going off as I kick them. You and the beat portrayed as the victim. Maniac, as the cut to balances supreme. With the war and challenges, graceful and quick like a puma.
This series was Enix's contribution to the rhythm genre that had recently been sparked by games like Parappa and Beatmania. You can tell they really wanted this series to be something too. In the lead up to its release, they had actors go on a stage at Tokyo Game Show and perform as characters from the game. They also released a supplemental 4-panel manga with more story for each of these characters. A random side note, but Busta Groove is also a rare case of the West getting better box art than Japan did. Add it to the very lopsided scoreboard. On the topic of characters, I will say, some of these character designs just aren't for me. They were made by Hideyuki Tanaka, whose art I actually really do like. I just don't think his style translates to 3D so well. Some of these characters look like rejected Xbox 360 avatars, others look like they belong in Drawn Together, and Kelly appeals to a certain niche that I'm not really into. Yeah. I like the voguing robot Robo-Z though, that's fun. I think it's a genuine shame the Busta Groove series didn't really get to stick around. I saw there were a couple of sequels, but I haven't played those yet, so I can't speak to them. I can tell you that from just playing this one though, that the game is fun, pure and simple. If we're ever at the function and you guys want to run a couple games, just let me know. For our final game today, we're going to talk about Gitaroo Man, a game that will skill check the hell out of you. Here you play as a young boy named U1 who has a talking dog named Puma. He's your standard loser type of character who gets picked on by Sasuke and has a crush on the girl. But that all changes one day when U1 is attacked by a demon named Pampus. Puma somehow turns into a robot and tosses U1 a Gitaroo, which transforms him into Gitaroo Man. Then it becomes his job to save the day from a bunch of evildoers.
Okay, listen, you one. You are of the Gitaroo Man bloodline, inheritor of the legendary Gitaroo. If you can collect all of the Gitaroos, you'll gain great powers and...
Puma, I have other plans.
Huh?
I'm gonna practice my skateboarding and Pico's gonna be like, wow, you're so cool!
Gameplay-wise, it's pretty unique. Just like in Busta Groove, you're battling against someone else, but it's split into 3 different phases here. There's Charge, where you regain your HP, there's Guard, where you block against enemy attacks, and Battle, where you attack them. Guard is your typical press this button with the appropriate timing, but the other phases are more interesting. You have to trace the line that appears on screen with the left stick and hold circle when the red bars appear. This game might seem easy enough at first too. The first 3 levels are pretty challenging in a nice way, but man, once you hit that 4th level, the game just takes a huge jump in difficulty. You have to be on your A+ game to survive. And look, I'm not above admitting this is a skill issue, but throw a dog a bone. I had to retry this level at least 20 times. This is relentless. There are only 10 levels in this game, but I think the difficulty here is pretty inconsistent. Some of these later levels are just jokes compared to others. And to this day, I've never finished the more difficult Master Mode that you unlock after beating the game. So while Gitaroo Man may not be my favorite rhythm game to play, it actually excels when it comes to the soundtrack and presentation. The soundtrack mixes all sorts of genres from punk to reggae to flamenco, and it all works so well. The Japanese band Coil and Tomohiro Harada absolutely knocked it out of the park with this game. I've even been using the acoustic version of one of the songs from this game as my outro song for the past few videos. This game knows how to stand out visually as well. Out of all the rhythm games I've talked about in this video, including Parappa and Vib Ribbon, I think Gitaroo Man is the most striking one of them all. I love the character designs, the colors, the cutscenes, the playfulness of it all. Even exploring the menu and looking at the things you've collected was fun because Gregorio, this snobby, arrogant villain you fight in the story, would narrate it all. I'd say this is one of those games that I don't really like to play myself, but I'll have a blast watching other people who are good at it play. We all have a couple of games like that, right?
I looked up what other games the creators of Gitaroo Man Innis have made as well, and I wasn't wasn't too surprised to learn that rhythm games were their lifeblood. While they didn't have too many notable games besides Elite Beat Agents and those Japanese spin-offs that play like it, they still seem to be hanging in there today. They've rebranded as Leona Interactive since, and from looking at their website, I think they work more on the sound design for other companies' games rather than straight up making their own. But hey, whatever works. Remember Project Rap Rabbit, the game Ennis were planning to make with Parappa's creators Nana Onsha? That game didn't go anywhere, so props to them for finding another lane. But I think we're done here for today. Play Gitaroo Man, play Busta Groove, play Space Channel 5, that's all I have to say. I don't have any more rhythm games I want to talk about in this video.
Hello there. Boop. The game you're about to see, boop, doesn't have a big, epic story, boop. But what it does have is lots of funny little rhythm games, boop.
As I was editing this video, Nintendo held a little direct for the Switch. This was the one just before the Switch 2 Direct, and I didn't really care about what they were revealing until I saw this. Unfortunately, the game isn't out yet, so I can't talk about this new Rhythm Heaven, but I will very quickly draw light to a similar and not at all related game called Heaven Studio. It's actually more of a tool that lets you make your own custom songs in a style that's very similar to Rhythm Heaven. I won't tell you how to get it, but you know. Some people have done really crazy things with it too, so if you want to let your creative side flourish, knock yourself out. I've posted some of my custom creations on my second channel if you want to see what a song looks like in full. Anyway, I'll see you guys again in the future with another video about mascot rhythms. There are plenty of these I still want to talk about.